Welcome back to another episode of the Unleash Your Radiance podcast. I am joined today by such an incredible guest and one that I'm so excited to welcome here. Guys, I want to welcome Laura Herde, who is a seasoned entrepreneur, content creator, host of the globally charting Unfuck Your Life podcast, and certified master coach who supports highly ambitious females in accelerating their mindset, mental and emotional healing, relationships, career, and overall quality of life. Since 2018, she has coached over 900 clients in the fields of inner healing, mental wellness, self-mastery, feminine leadership, embodied manifestation, confidence building, and professional success. Laura has worked with clients ranging from newbie and million-dollar business owners to high achievers in corporate jobs. She specializes in helping women through healing and mindset work, as well as actionable strategies and steps that allow her clients to release old patterns and paradigms so they can thrive in their careers, personal lives, and relationships. She focuses on fusing masculine and feminine energetics when it comes to soulfully scaling a heart-led business, self-leadership, and navigating relationships. She also certifies aspiring and newbie coaches inside of her holistic coaching certification academy, the Embodied Coach Academy, that she founded in 2021, focused on combining self-healing, energy, mindset, and embody work with modalities and techniques like NLP, EFTs, success coaching strategies, time transformation techniques, as well as a foundation of ethical business building and magnetic marketing. Laura, welcome to the Unleash Your Radiance podcast.
Well, thank you so much. That was such a beautiful introduction, Laurie. I really appreciate it. And I'm so excited to be here today.
I am excited to do well. We are actually in Bali in person recording this episode, which I'm so excited to have finally met you in person. For those of you who don't know, Laura and I have worked together in two containers now. She has supported me in feminine leadership and also in thriving in personal life, as well as my mentor and coach. And it's an absolute honor to have you here today.
It's an honor to be here, babe. Thank you for having me.
Oh, amazing. Laura, I always love to ask everyone who comes on the podcast, what does radiant living mean to you?
I love that. I honestly, girl, I wanted to tell you that anyways. I feel like the name of your podcast show is so beautiful because I personally love the word radiance.
Oh.
For me, it's like, because like when I'm thinking about it, I'm like thinking about this like radiant, warm, bright light. Almost like that's what I like initially when I hear the word, I'm like, it's like warmth and it's just wholeness and it's like thriving. Like you're literally thriving. When you're radiating, you're in alignment, you're at peace, you know who you are. And so to answer your question, what does radiant living mean to you? For me, it's living authentically, it's living in alignment, it's living truthfully, it's being fully expressed as well. Because for me on my own journey, like what I've learned is the more I am myself and I show all parts of myself, even the funky, funny parts that people sometimes wouldn't even necessarily expect when they see me on Instagram, because they're like, oh, well, like she obviously like she's a coach, she's doing this. It's like, it's almost like, oh, you're having your shit together, so you're a certain way, you're like super put together, and I am in a way, but also I'm a wild woman in a way. So for me, radiant living is like letting myself be that feminine, have that wild, expressed, funny, like just more creative side, I would say, like intuitive side. And so radiant living for me, in short, live in alignment in your truth, embodied in your truth and who you are, and doing what lights your soul on fire rather than suppressing and hiding and playing small, and trying to fit into this box that society oftentimes wants to put us into. So that for me is radiant living. It's like feeling radiant within and letting that radiate into your external reality, right?
Oh, I absolutely love that. And that's exactly what this podcast is all about.
Amazing. Yeah. Like, and I nailed it.
Lighting your soul on fire, doing what feels authentic to you. And just like letting those parts of you be seen, like the messy, but also, like all parts of yourself. So thank you so much for sharing that. Laura, I want to dive in a little bit into your own story as well, because I'm familiar with your story, but I know my listeners are not, potentially not, but like you've had such an incredible journey along your growth journey and like becoming a coach. And I know you used to coach on like mindset manifestation. Now you're into like a bit more of the feminine leadership. So I'd love to like, if you could share a little bit more about your own story and healing journey and what got you to where you are today.
Yeah. Wow. That's a long story, but like, let's try and keep it short and sweet. So long story short, I grew up in a family that was not necessarily, like it wasn't bad. Nothing was bad. Like, it was like a good childhood per se, but that being said, I grew up also seeing a very unhealthy dynamic between my parents. Like they had a very, very toxic relationship. And that eventually got me, because I was like always a people pleaser my whole life. Like I was a high achiever, people pleaser. I never understood why. I was also never questioning it. Right. So like it was, for me, it was just the norm to be the girl who would always get the good grades at school, who was like the best at sports, like that, like ticking all the boxes, like making my parents happy. And they were super proud of me. However, I always had a really, really difficult, let's say, relationship with my father. And I never really understood why. Like I was feeling so much anger towards him, so much resentment. And I definitely think a huge part was like just witnessing my parents' relationship and how unhealthy that was, and like how my mom was oftentimes being treated, and like me just feeling like powerless as a child and like feeling so damn angry. So I had like huge anger issues when I was younger. I was feeling so unsafe around men, or like the masculine, because for me it was like men are unsafe. Like that's what I learned as a child, was like men are fucking unsafe. You can't trust them. And also you can't let them overpower you. So for my entire childhood, I was always the strong one. I was always like taking care of my mom, trying to protect my mom, like showing up, like almost being an adult at like 5 years old or 6 years old. It was crazy to think about. But like that obviously shaped me, and that obviously had me carry certain beliefs around myself and the world and men and like safety, and what it takes for you to succeed, what it takes for you to be respected as well. Because when you learn that men are not respecting women, obviously you try to be more like a man, because you're like, well, then I'm going to be respected, right? Like then like people are going to like not fuck around with me, and so, or like walk over me. And so that was basically my childhood. I eventually fell into depression because honestly, at some point, I wasn't sure who I was. Like I was the popular one at school. Like I was getting all the good grades, but like my life at home with my parents was a mess, and I was hurting, and like no one knew it because I was not necessarily sharing it with anyone. Because for me, I was like, no, I need to be the strong one. Like I need to be the one that's like admired. So like I can't show any weakness. And obviously talking about my parents like parting ways, or like things being really difficult at home, like I was not ready to share that with anyone. So I got really depressed. I had zero friends during that time. I was socially completely cut off. I was just not looking after myself at all. Like it was really, really bad actually. That was also a time for me where I developed like an eating disorder. I was like trying to control my entire life. I couldn't control my parents. I couldn't control how my father was treating my mom. So I was trying to control everything else in my life. So like getting good grades, kind of like depriving my body basically. And kind of honestly, part of me didn't want to live anymore. Like part of me was like, if I'm like dying tomorrow, I'm so fine with it.
Oh my gosh.
It was really bad. Like I was so fine with it. I had zero desire to live, basically zero. And part of me wanted that almost, because I was like, I don't see a point here. I don't want this. Like I didn't have the guts to like take my life. Trigger warning. I didn't want to do that actively, but I would want to, like, if it happened, I would be like so fine, basically. So that was a really dark time, and I got out of it also by myself. Like, I mean, I didn't see a therapist. I possibly should have, but I was just like not like I went to one session with this woman, and like I was like, I don't trust her, I don't like her, I don't know anything about her. Who is she to like hold space for me? Like she knows nothing about what I'm going through. I'm pretty sure she has never experienced the pain I'm experiencing, right? Like subconsciously, obviously I wasn't like actively thinking that, but I just didn't feel seen. And so I was like, I'm not gonna go to this woman, I'm gonna figure my shit out by myself. And so I did, and I recovered when I was about 16. That was when I was actually finding personal development work. Like I was like finding out about like, oh, like actually my mind has a power over me, and like how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling about myself and relating to myself shapes my reality, and like how people approach me and see me and treat me. And that was really like awakening in a way. And then 2 years later, I found out about veganism, and I started this lifestyle of like sustainable, slow living, like using, you know, non-toxic products, and obviously like eating plant-based and all those things that come with this lifestyle. And that was a really beautiful savior. And I'm not going to say like this is going to save everyone. I just can speak from my own experience. It just helped me to be more mindful of things, of my choices, to like learn more about like what feels good for my body, and like work with my body and not against it anymore. And also like just see like life and bigger, like, oh, like my choices have an impact, basically. Like my decisions, how I'm living has an impact on the world, not just on me. And so like that was a beautiful time of me gaining so much self-awareness, and like really seeing myself differently, basically, like shifting my self image from disempowered victim, poor me, no one likes me, people have to approve me, people have to validate me, over to I'm doing my own fucking thing right now, and I don't care if you like it or not. And that was really empowering.
Wow.
And that's when I was like 18, and I then took a year off to like just like, you know, travel, make some experiences, and like do an internship. That's where I also realized that the 9 to 5 life isn't quite for me. But I then started studying media communication journalism at university in my hometown because my brother did that, and like I was not in a place yet where I would actually fully make my own decisions just yet. I was still like trying to you know, like especially professionally, like kind of have some sort of guidance. And I was like, well, if my brother does it and we have similar strengths and skills and interests, then this could also be for me. So I went for that. 1.5 years into that course, realized this is totally not for me. This is totally not how I'm seeing myself living my life. I also had to do another internship during that time. And I was like miserable. I was like it was 3 months of having a 9 to 5 life. And I was like, fuck that. That's not what I want.
Wow.
I can't do this. I can't. How do people do this? I was exhausted. I was tired. I was unfulfilled. I was like, I'm not doing this. I didn't quit, which was surprised. Like looking back on it now, I'm like, why did I not quit? But I just didn't quit. I followed through, finished the study course, which was like 3 years in total. During that time though, I started building my Instagram. Like I had started like a little channel, was going vegan, where I think I was 20 when I started, where I was just like sharing about, you know, sustainable, ethical living and like travel and mindset stuff I was learning, self-development work, but also like food inspo and just like random things that just like felt very alive and aligned and like just fun for me at that time. And people fucking loved it. I don't know, like people were just like starting to respond and engage. Like I was building a following on that, and I was like, oh, this is fun. Like it was just like a little side hobby thing. It was nothing too serious. But it just helped me to kind of like share this message and like what I was feeling passionate about at that time. And obviously complemented my studies in a way, because we were like all about like media and like, you know, like communication. Not to say like I learned a bunch of things during that course that like were like life-changing, but it just empowered me to like build my own channel in a way, right? And so I did that, and it just grew into something. And over time, people started reaching out, asking like, "Oh, do you offer some sort of like help or support or guidance?" And I was like, "Not really. Like, I have a bunch of like side hustles because I was waitressing and like I was working different like little side jobs, like at these events, like night shifts, like super exhausting, but also super fun. I love that time of my life. Like I had the best time, like chatting to people there. Like I don't know, it was a really fun time, even though it was exhausting, like studying and then doing Instagram on the side and having all my side hustle, and that made me money on the side because I was saving up for my travels. And then when I was 22 and I finished my studies, I went to Bali, for the first time. That was 2018, I think, like a year after you went to Bali for the first time, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, let's see what else is out there. Cause I was like over my hometown, over like definitely not considering getting a 9 to 5 job there. My mom was like, are you sure? Like you'll come back eventually. Right? I was like, yeah, we'll see about like coming back. And I never really returned, right? Like since then, like that, like going to Bali basically by myself. I had some friends in Bali at that time too that I met here, that I knew would be there, but like I basically went by myself and figured things out on my own. And that's kind of what kickstarted my solo travel journey in my early 20s. And then I traveled solo for like 2.5 years.
Wow.
From Cape Town to the States, like to California, to Bali, kind of jumping between these three places, just like growing my following, starting to do what I love, because I was coaching clients on the side at that time. Like I said yes to those inquiries of like random, like, oh, do you offer support? And I was like, sure, I could. Like I could support you.
Yeah.
I figured
Wow.
some stuff out for myself, so I'm happy to help. And that was just like me coaching from my own experience. Obviously, I had no certification, no actual like skills other than being, I guess, a good listener, and like knowing some stuff and like just like what it supported me, basically like literally everything that had helped me until then I was just sharing with my clients one-on-one at that time. And I wasn't charging much. I was like probably $50 an hour or something like that, for like for each session. And people start getting insane results, and I was like, oh, wait a sec, like it seems to be
You're
working.
like, I'm onto something here.
I'm onto
Yeah.
something here, right? Like things are falling into place. And so I kept traveling, kept growing my business, had 15 one-on-one clients at some point,
Wow.
which was wild.
Wow.
Girl, I'm telling you, it was
Okay.
wild. Like I was constantly working, constantly traveling. Definitely in my like little hustle, go, go, go era, I was drinking a lot of coffee during that time. I was like hungry for more, basically.
Yeah.
And it definitely took me places. However, like my adrenals were completely burned to the ground. Like I was feeling very tired. I was also like socially quite overstimulated because I was meeting all these people, jumping from place to place. Like it was fun. It was like one of the best times of my life. However, for my body and for my whole system, it was a little bit too much, definitely. And I could feel the effects after. In 2019, my father also passed, which was super traumatic because I've never really had the chance to like make up with him or like to like actually connect with him and like have a solid relationship with him.
Yeah.
Which that obviously didn't really make my relationship to men much better because I was like, well, I felt like I really had failed like having a relationship to my father, even though like I obviously as a child and like teenager even didn't know better. I had these anger resentment issues with him, and I just couldn't allow it. And that, however, showed me that there was so much I needed to look at. Initially I went into numbing mode and like just distracting myself, also definitely drinking, overworking. Like I was just, my body in 2019 was just like burned to the fucking ground.
Wow.
And then in 2020, when I was in Cape Town, I realized that because I met a guy there in early 2020, I was like, I like this guy and I'm so not available for him. Like, so this is such a good guy and I'm so not available for him. Like I'm scared of him, even though he was like the nicest guy.
Yeah.
Like
that safety's not there.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's the sweetest guy. We've been in touch on and off, like over the past, like still to this day. It's like so sweet, like how he is. And I'm like, I wish I was in that place back then to like open up, but I just wasn't. I was just not available for it at all. I was like so fucking scared of being hurt, being mistreated, basically everything I've been taught like from a young age. And so that though, like really triggered my little feminine healing journey that I then went on. And I was like, oh fuck. And like I really grieved. I grieved my father passing. I grieved the relationship I never had to him. I grieved all the men that were like good that I was just not able to ever connect with more deeply because I was so scared. And imagine how old was I? I was 24.
Wow.
I was 24 at the time, never been in a relationship, never let anyone close to me, all my guards up, super masculine. And that really got me on this path of healing. And 6 months later, I met my now ex-partner. That was such a great first relationship. Like, I'm so grateful that I did that work at that time in early 2020 in Cape Town on my own in my apartment there. That led me to manifesting someone who I still consider a soulmate. I think my ex is still to a certain degree a soulmate, like a person in my life that's always going to be important for me because we had the best time together. It was obviously not a perfect relationship and we're not life partners. We're not meant to marry and build a life long term. However, it was perfect for the time that we had. Like we learned so much through each other. Like my business exponentially like took off in 2020 as well. Like the year that I opened my heart, funny enough, my business took quantum leaps. I scaled way too fast though. Like looking back on it, I was like, holy shit, like that was not sustainable. But it just happened so damn fast because of the momentum that I had created, like strategically, but also just obviously my energy shifting and my heart opening and me being a whole new version of myself. And so, yeah, that's what happened in 2020. My business kept scaling. I kept healing through my relationship. And that's kind of what got me onto this path of, oh, maybe there's a different way to lead my business as well. Because until that point, I'd been hustling, making shit happen. It worked until I felt resentful towards my business and even resentful towards like constantly being available to clients, team members, and just a lot of demand and pressure, which then led me to, okay, like how can I bring the lightness back into my business so it feels more fun again? Because I was lacking the fun and the creativity almost in my work. Because I was like, this is like so like I was like growing my team. I even hired a head coach at some point to like support me with coaching clients. And I was like, I don't want to outsource what I'm best at and what I enjoy doing the most. I don't want to outsource that. Like that doesn't make any sense, right? And so like I started really looking at how do I want to lead my business? How do I want to show up in my relationship? And started just like softening in all aspects of life, which was so beautiful because it ultimately led me to the place that I'm in now, feeling so aligned and feeling so fulfilled and feeling so abundant and wealthy in all aspects of life, even though, as you know, like I'm single now and like I uncoupled with my partner a couple of months ago, and I scaled back my business in the way that I'm not like having this team of like 6, 7 people anymore, but just like 4, and like just restructuring it so that I have more freedom in my life ultimately. And so that's where I'm at now, just enjoying the fruits of the labor that I've internally and externally been putting in. Sorry, this was really damn long.
Wow. No, but it's amazing. I'm just trying to like, where do I even start? There's so much in there, but no, thank you so much for sharing your journey into where you got. And I know we have so much in common. Like I see myself so much in your story with the father wound.
Oh my God.
You know, like so much around that, the eating disorder, the inner work, all that. And, you know, so I know so many women listening are also going to see themselves in that. So thank you for sharing.
Of course.
And I know, like, you know, it's incredible that you took that leap at like 18 and like 20 to go traveling. And some people wait so long to do that. And like, you know, you've had incredible success through your business, like kind of like falling into coaching, but you were living in alignment, right? It's like you're going after what you wanted to do and healing yourself that way. And I know like you've manifested some incredible things into your life. And
yes, I did.
You know, I know you used to coach more on like the manifestation, the mindset.
Yes.
You still do a little bit, but now you've sort of leaned more into the feminine leadership, like helping women, you know, really step into their feminine, which again, you're saying you're in your masculine. I know a lot of women are, because we don't feel that safety. And when we can open up our hearts and soften, like there's so much magic there. So I'd love to know kind of like what really transitioned you from like going into the manifestation, really the feminine leadership now.
I love that question, babe. Yeah, so I haven't touched on like, when I started out, it was basically life coaching, right? It was confidence, it was mindset, it was like also like manifestation, because as you said, like I learned about manifestation and the law of attraction when I became vegan, actually, when I was 18. So like in 2016 or so. And I learned about that. I was like, this is life changing. I want people to know about this. So I started talking about it. And this was kind of like how I kicked off my coaching. And so like, obviously this kind of work, like mindset work, you know, self-esteem, manifestation is still part of what I do, but it's no longer the main focus, because when I grew along my journey, I just realized, well, like what else is there that changed the game for me? Like what feels alive, what feels more recent? And for me, it's been like 2.5 to 3 years ago, finding out about healing my feminine. It was about softening in my life, softening in the relationship to men, softening in relationship to my business, and figuring out like what other way is there to like not be in survival mode, to not feel like I have to constantly prove myself, to do more in order to be more worthy, or to like achieve what I want and get what I want. I just figured out there is another way. And obviously it took me a couple of years. Now I have a proven process that like gets people results in a couple of weeks time. But like for me, it took me years to figure that out in the first place, because I had no one to follow or to look up to. So I was like just trying and erroring around, like figuring out like how to do this. And so what basically got me to pivot, if you will, was realizing that this work has been giving me exponential results in my love life. Even though, let's say I'm single, like I've been attracting the most insane, like we talked about it before, the most insane management. I'm like, whoa, like I can't believe that. No, I actually can believe this is available to me, but for the longest time I couldn't. Like it felt too good to be true, too far away, out of reach. And I'm like, it just makes sense that I'm attracting that, you know? And so like for me, it was really embodying my queen energy, stepping into my worth in terms of like, for me, only the best and like nothing less and no more settling. And so, and that was a huge thing though, because I was always someone who's like be grateful, like everything you have is enough. And I still feel that way. I'm so grateful and appreciative of anything, like the small things. Like if my business makes a $20 sale because like someone's purchasing like a passive shop product in my shop, I'm like, fuck, I feel abundant as fuck. But I feel just as abundant if someone signs up for a one-on-one mentorship that's like 5 figures, right? Like it doesn't even make a huge difference in how I feel about it, just because it's like money is neutral. And like I just feel the same amount of like, oh, I'm grateful. Like, and it doesn't mean that you can't want more. Like I think a lot of women think, well, if you're grateful, you should just settle and be satisfied, and that's about it. But I think, and what I've learned is, you can be so fucking abundant and grateful for where I'm at, and like appreciative of what you've already created and manifested and called in, and still want more.
Exactly.
You get both can coexist. And so like that's been like a huge game changer. And obviously just like feminine energetics in business, in love with men, the dynamics, polarity, like just learning so much about that made me be like, okay, maybe I want to like lean more towards feminine leadership coaching, which still involves healing work, mindset work, embodiment work, manifestation, like all those juicy, yummy things that changed my life. But from a different angle, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that, because I think that's so important. Like so many people think that just be grateful for what you have. And like, absolutely be grateful, celebrate all the things.
Exactly.
But you can still be grateful and want more, which actually would bring me to my next question is like, a big thing I know a lot of women struggle with, myself included, this is going into the self-worth topic, but like was around receivership
Oh
and
yeah.
expanding yourself to be able to receive, whether that's more money, because so many of us are told like, money is evil, money's bad, or like, wanting
Yeah.
more is bad, or like receiving love. Some people struggle, or, oh,
Oh
I don't
my
feel good
God.
enough,
Yes.
or receiving business success. Some people fear the success. So like,
This is so real.
and this all ties into every subject. If you don't feel worthy of one thing, usually love and money
Yeah,
are very highly,
exactly.
coincided. So like, what would be something like you would say to someone who is looking to call in more abundance, more to be grateful for, and like leaving that feminine energy around receivership if they don't maybe feel worthy of that now?
Exactly. As you said, it is looking at your worthiness.
Yeah.
It is looking at where do you label things? Where have you decided in your life, in your past, likely in your childhood, that things are out of reach or too good to be true? I had to ask myself that question many times, even in the past couple of weeks and months, to be honest with you, over and over again. What do I consider still, even though I consider myself a very confident, embodied person, embodied in her worth, what do I still consider too good to be true?
Yeah.
Where am I still putting an energetic limit to how much I'm
Yeah.
able to receive in terms of love, money, success, friendship, like connection, play, joy? Like there was a time in my life where I genuinely thought I was not worthy of pleasure. So I would never have self-pleasure. I would never like
Wow.
even connect with my body in that way, that I would allow my body to just feel pleasure without having to earn it, work for it, just feeling pleasure. Like it was crazy, right? Like
Yeah.
crazy. Like until I met my I think just like basically in early 2020, what I mentioned before in Cape Town, that's when I started to self-pleasure. That was the first time in my life, and I was 24.
Wow.
I had just turned 24 years, and I had not connected with my body in that way, at least until then. I was not feeling worthy of being treated by an incredible, like being treated right, because my ex, he treated me so well, right?
Yeah.
Like, and part of me was like, what the fuck? Why would you treat me that way?
I
Right?
relate to that.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was like,
that.
for me, it was like, what? Why would you? Because I had seen something so different growing up with my parents.
Yeah.
So I was like, what on earth? And so for me, even the fact that I called him in at that time meant for me, oh, I had worked on that. Like part of me felt worthy of this, because otherwise I wouldn't have attracted it in the first place. So like that was huge to me to realize, oh, like actually I am worthy of being treated in that way. And it's really about looking for that reassurance. Where am I treated the right way? Where am I not treated the right way? And how can I stop allowing that? Because if you are mistreated by someone, walked over, whatever it is, underpaid at your job, it's because, yes, maybe these people are like not valuing you, and also you're not doing anything against it, you're allowing it. Exactly. And if you're allowing it, it just confirms that yes, this is how much I'm worthy of, and not more. Yeah. Right. And so if you have stronger boundaries, and for me, boundary setting was a huge one as a recovered people pleaser. Now I'm like, wow, like I had so many like situations in my life where I was just people pleasing, even when I thought I was just being the nice girl, but I was actually people pleasing.
The good girl.
The good girl conditioning. Yeah. It is fucking real. And I just had to like really come to terms with, I don't care if I'm not seen as the good girl right now. It's so okay with me that people misunderstand me, that people are offended by my boundaries. Like even with guys dating in the past couple of months, there has been guys who were offended by me saying no, offended by me being like, nope, sorry, I'm not gonna go on a date. Like offended where I'm like, this is nothing personal. I just say this is not what I want, so I'm saying no. And like people would get angry, and like my old self would have been like, oh no, it's fine. Like let's just try. Let's go. Hell no. I'm not gonna settle. I'm not gonna allow less. I'm not gonna allow anything less than queen treatment, because I'm setting the standard and I'm treating myself like a queen. So naturally, why would I allow someone to give me less than what I'm willing to give myself? Yes. Right? 100%. So it really starts with you and how you're seeing yourself, how you're valuing yourself, how you're treating yourself in those micro moments. Even when it comes to, oh, I want to start Pilates, but I'm still not booking my Pilates classes. It's like, babe, you're not valuing yourself enough to book yourself a fucking Pilates class and make the time to show up for it. Like it's like self-worth, right? Like I, for the longest time, didn't think I was worthy of making time for friendship, making time for movement, making time for like good things that would actually make me a happier, healthier human. And I was like, oh, maybe I'm not valuing myself as much as I thought that I would, because like I'm working and I'm creating this amazing life for myself, but am I actually looking after myself in all the ways I deserve? Am I having the life quality that I that I basically know I deserve, but I was not claiming it? It's like, well, you got to look at those things. Where are you allowing less than what you deep down feel like you're worthy of? And so for me, I was really looking at like, where am I still allowing bullshit? Where am I still making space for people to walk over me, treat me poorly, and removing yourself? And so for me, that this one has been a huge one. What was your original question?
It was around the receivership and the expansion, but I think it really did cover a lot about that. It's around the self-worth, right? What do you feel worthy of having, and expanding your self-worth in that way and having those boundaries? So
yeah,
you definitely touched on that. And yeah, I totally completely resonate with so much of what you said. It's like, where are you settling? And especially with the dating, right? It's like, you almost like don't want to like upset people. It's like the should being the good girl, which we're so taught. And it's like, fuck that. Like, we're no longer being the good girl, right? It's
fuck
like,
that.
yeah. So it's really about like, yeah, like being good with people misunderstanding you. I love that, because I think so many people are like worried about how other people perceive them or like how they're showing up. But it's like, get rid of the shoulds, and it's like, what do you desire? How do you want to show up? And like, what are you worthy of? We're all worthy of like everything we desire, but it's like
claiming that.
Yeah.
Being like,
stepping into
yes, that just makes sense. Like nothing less. It's like, it has to become a no-brainer, because for a lot of people, it's like, oh no, this is too good to be true. This is too much. I can't receive even like small little gifts. Like, honestly, like you brought me this beautiful crystal, Laurie, like just a little cute story. Laurie's in my place right now. We're here in Bali together.
Yes.
And she brought me this little crystal. And honestly, me 2 years ago, I would have probably been like, oh, I can't take that.
Okay.
Like, I can't, this is like too nice. This is too good to be true. This is too sweet, too thoughtful. And I'm like, thank you. Like, obviously I'm so deeply touched, but I can receive it without feeling guilty for receiving it.
Yeah.
Because I think with receivership, for a lot of women, there's like this guilt of, oh, I need to immediately give something back in return.
That was gonna say,
I need to immediately like prove that I'm worthy by giving something back, so that that person understands that I'm actually worthy of it. No, you already know that I'm worthy of it. That's why you got me this crystal in the first place. And that is so special. But like, I haven't always seen it that way. It used to be like, oh, like, how can I like make up for it almost, right?
Yeah, I feel like you immediately need to do something back, or like give a compliment back,
right?
Compliment, or
exactly. It's like the guilt of like, oh, I got something, so I need to immediately give something in return. It's like, well, obviously, like beautiful relationships, romantic and friendship are like mutual, like you give and you take, but it's like, it's balance. But like, there's so many different ways in which you can give and receive. It's not just like materialistic. It's not just words of affirmation and compliments. It's not just this or that. It's like all these little things, you know,
the expectation of like, it has to come back to me, or like you have to do something
and
back.
that is true queen energy. It's like, it's not even this like, oh, I have to give back, or it has to come back to me. It's just like giving fully and abundantly, and receiving fully and abundantly, rather than be conditioned or tied to something. So it's like an exchange.
Exactly.
That's horrible. That's not worthiness. That's not queen energy, you know?
No, that's like wounded princess energy.
Yeah, probably wounded princess energy. Love that.
Yeah. And like, Laura, I think you were just such the embodiment of this like feminine energy, this like in your worth, this queen energy. And like, it is so, I think so many people want, or so many women especially want that, but feel disconnected from that. So like, if you were like, someone was like, a woman was like new to this feminine energy work and wanted to bring it into her business and her love life, like, what would you say, like, as like a one piece of advice for somewhere to start?
Oh my God. When it comes to worthiness, the number one thing that immediately came to mind was like how I started showing up for myself. And it sounds like such a minor, stupid thing. Oh, like, oh yeah, home. Like, it's deep. It runs deep, because it's literally you versus you proving yourself every single day. I'm so worthy of this. I show up, like, whether it's like sleeping in because my body needs it, or getting up early to go to Pilates because that's what my body needs and is craving. It's like making choices that are for my highest good without sabotaging. And looking at like, where am I sabotaging versus where am I just being more disciplined, because it's ultimately also for my highest good. And like, there's like this is such a sweet spot to nail between being self-disciplined and being gentle with yourself, right? It's like, when do I need to push, and when do I need to soften? When do I need to sleep in? When do I need to get up early to get work done because that's in my highest interest? Or I'm going to Pilates class because that's in my highest interest. It's like really just making daily choices for myself that I know are for my highest good, from a place and with the intention of loving myself, and not pushing myself, punishing myself, proving to myself or someone else. It's really like for like showing up with love for myself, because that is queen energy, that is receivership energy, and that radiates into your business, into your love life, because everything is just a mirror. Remember, like clients, like how your team members like or treat you, like men, like friendships, like friends. It just makes sense that people treat me so well these days. And if they don't, like, they don't get my energy, they don't get anything from me. But if they do, it's like, it just makes sense because it's just a mirror of how much I'm loving and valuing myself these days. And so when you want more feminine energy, it's about starting to treat yourself as that gorgeous fucking woman that you know that you are, and have just like, you know, like adopted patterns over time of like, I'm not worthy, so I'm not going to do this for myself. I'm not going to, and it's not even just about treating yourself to like expensive clothes or like all these spa treatments, like, yes, that too, but like, it's how do you show up for yourself when you fucked up? Like I had a situation a couple of weeks ago. I wasn't necessarily proud of myself. I was like, ooh, I could have handled that differently. And like being honest with myself like that.
Yeah.
That was such a gift. And also being like, how can I be compassionate and still love me, even though, yes, I could have definitely handled this better.
Yeah.
And I should have known better, but I didn't, because I needed that lesson. I needed that reminder again. Oh, this is something I want to look at so I can handle it better next time. And so like not loving myself less because of it.
Yeah.
Not loving yourself less because of your flaws, imperfections, fuck ups, like not making that mean anything about you because you know yourself so well that you know like your fuck ups or your flaws or like you gaining weight or you having a breakout on your face, like it doesn't make you any less worthy. It just literally doesn't change a thing about you. And that is receivership. That is feminine energy. It's you being so soft with yourself.
Yeah.
Rather than pushing and forcing and expecting and using your body as a tool to achieve and to do and to perform, and like from this pushy, like hard energy to like a softer one, to like this. I feel so fucking in love with every single aspect of who I am and my body. Like
I love that.
Like being so genuinely in love with it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And like that is I think that is like worth more than any amount of money.
Exactly.
Like
100%.
that is
100%.
That is priceless.
100%. So like for me, that really changed the game, was looking so well after myself.
Yeah.
Like, and it sounds small, but most people struggle with that.
They do. And people are chasing all these external factors of thinking like, when I have the money, when I have the success, when I have the love, then I'll feel happier. But it's like,
how do you show up for yourself on a daily basis? Those micro moments. Like, are you going to like beat yourself up about it? Or are you going to be like, okay, I fucked up and I'll show myself love and I'll keep going. Like, how do you show up in those micro moments?
Yeah. And I think that's where we really see the change, is like when we go through challenges or times, like how we're showing up. That's when you can really see the inner work that's been done.
100%. When you're staying calmer in a situation where you would have freaked the fuck out before.
Yeah.
Progress.
Self-mastery.
Self-mastery. Right? 100%. So it's like, it's those small micro moments where you'll notice, oh, I'm holding myself differently here. I'm working with my body, not against it. I'm working with the intention of being my happiest self, not just pushing to like be recognized or to be valued more, to be seen in this way. Like, I don't care about that shit anymore, right? It's about how do I feel? How can I make myself feel so fucking good? That's so beautiful. That being your main intention every day. That's incredible. It's such like an amazing accomplishment. I know we're a little sick for time, but one question I did want to ask as well, we've covered so much and I have a million questions. But one thing that I just found is incredible that you've done lately is, I know you mentioned as well, you've come out of like a long-term partnership with someone who you thought was going to be your life partner. Oh yeah. And like you have just thrived, like literally, like, you know, just I like from your stories, from what just chatting with you here as well, like you just handled this so well and like held yourself so beautifully through it. And I know like so many women are going through breakups and it can be so emotional, of course. And like, but like, how have you managed to do it, for one? And like, what would be like a piece of advice maybe you'd give someone navigating this? I love that you're asking this, because I got this question so often by so many people. Like you can't even imagine. You're magnetic. You're just like blooming. I know. Radiating. I think part of me radiating, right? Radiating. Part of me was also surprised, but then also it's just like, no, it makes sense. It makes sense that I feel this way now. It makes sense that I'm in this place now because of the inner foundations I've laid over years. Yeah. And so to give context, I've been in a partnership that I entered, I mentioned it before, right? Like in summer 2020, I met him. We were together for 3.5 years, basically. We uncoupled in January. Yeah, like a really long time. Felt like a whole lifetime that we lived together. Really. Like we always kept saying like, it feels like we've known each other for like lifetimes. And probably we have, like, possibly like a past life connection. Like he's definitely one of my soulmates in this lifetime. And I'm so grateful for all of it, because this relationship and he as a man has given me exactly what I needed, and vice versa. I think like we keep saying how grateful we are. But the main thing here is that when you understand, when you're at a point where you're like, is this connection, whether it's a friendship, by the way, it could also be a friendship, right? Or this romantic relationship, is it adding to my life? Like, is it still making me grow, or have I stagnated? Or do I feel complete here? Do I feel like I've learned the things I needed to learn? Have I evolved to the degree to which I'm capable of with this person? Or is there even more? And for me, start of this year and like basically end of last year, I came to the conclusion that I feel complete. And part of me obviously like was still attached, and like I still had feelings for him. Like on the day we broke up, like I cried. I think I've never cried so much in my life on a single day.
It's painful
It
breakups. Can feel like someone's almost like died sometimes.
because you're grieving the
grieving it.
connection, and
Yeah.
you're grieving the vision of what could have been.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Because you're also then there's part of
Exactly.
you questioning, could we have made it work? And yes, I told you before, I definitely think we could have made it work.
Yeah.
But would it have been the highest vision of my ideal romantic partnership? Probably not.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because communication can only get you this far. There's compatibility. There's so many factors that play into whether someone is your life partner.
Like the mind, body, spiritual connection, right?
Exactly.
Like all of those. Yeah.
Is it your life partner? Is it just someone that you get to share a life season with, to have a beautiful time, to share, to share yourself, to share this experience together, to learn from each other, to heal together, to evolve together. But if you feel like there's a limit to that and we've reached that plateau, I was like, well, then that can't be it, because I know what I want. I know who I've become, because obviously we both tremendously grew and healed and evolved in our relationship. And in some ways we grew into the same direction. In some way it was just completely different, and honoring that and being like, okay, I can accept that happened. It is life. It is normal. It happens all the time. And it's nothing bad. It's sad, because when you break up, when you say, hey, I don't think we should be in a partnership anymore, to someone that you so deeply love, that's the most painful. That's the hardest. I think it's been the hardest decision of my life, to be honest with you. I can't remember a single decision that I made, like leaving my hometown, like when I was 22, like selling my belongings, no brainer, easy compared to breaking up with him.
Yeah.
Like literally people were like, oh, that's such a big deal. It's like easy compared to that.
Yeah.
Like leaving my life behind, starting a business, easy compared to breaking up with someone you still love so deeply.
Yeah.
That you saw yourself spending the rest of your life with.
Because
we were so good in so many ways. Like people were like, oh, but you always shared about how happy you were. Yeah, I was happy, but I was not exponentially happy.
Yeah.
And I got to a place in myself where I set such high standards, like my entire life. Like I was going through this like whole journey of transforming internally and really getting so clear on who I had become in the past 3.5 years and what I want and what I deserve, and realizing that you can't demand from someone what they're not necessarily able or willing to give, because they're just different. They're a different human, and there will be men who can give you exactly what you want, and there will be men who don't, and that's okay. And it doesn't mean they're not good enough, or you're wrong, or you're demanding too much, or they're not. It doesn't mean anything other than maybe you're not fully compatible.
Yeah.
And for me, realizing that logically, like on a rational level, really, really helped. Like rationally understanding we're not fully compatible. This is not exactly what I want, and it's unfair to ask him to change, and vice versa, right? Like he probably had his things too that he didn't get from me, and it's unfair to ask your partner to change if they don't truly want to. This is the thing. Like if someone wants to, amazing. If you're like, no, I like myself this way. Like he said things to me where I was like, oh, actually I can see why you don't love that about me, but I like myself this way, and I'm not going to change for you because I love myself more. And when you get to these points where you're choosing yourself over someone, and you're choosing to stay the way you are consciously because you actually like that about yourself, and it's not something that you want to, like we had so many things where I was like, yeah, I want to work on that. Thank you, babe, for giving me that feedback. I love that. I'll work on that 100%. But there were things where I was like, no, I don't want to, because I like, my friends love that about me. I love that about me. I'm not going to change for you.
Exactly. And that is so powerful.
And that is powerful. And it's obviously painful, because it's like, well, he wants me to be someone else, or I want him to be someone else. And it's not fair to demand that. So rationally, like understanding like this is not fair was a huge one. But then also on an energetic, like emotional level, understanding that I can still love him. Like there's nothing wrong with me still having so much love for him, but just like in a different way, because it's obviously not a romantic love. It's more like I see him as family. I would do anything for him. I'm just one call away. You need me, I'm there. But like from this place of friendship more, because like friendship has always been like a really strong foundation in our relationship anyway. It's like we were best friends and lovers. And so like stripping away the lovers part, the romantic aspect, and just being like, okay, like let's be friends. That works so well, because we always had that. It was always such a strong, solid, genuine friendship of us just appreciating each other. And just because you don't work out as lovers, as life partners, doesn't mean you can't be friends. I think, again, every relationship is different. I understand there's very toxic relationships where there's terrible things happening, like abuse or whatever, where you're like, well, it makes sense that you want to go no contact. It makes perfect sense, go no contact. For us, that was not necessarily an option, because we we still want to be there for each other. And we've been moving through this uncoupling process in a way together, in a way where we talked about things, we processed things together, we cried together, we held each other. But we also realized we have to keep some distance. So we obviously stopped seeing each other as often. Like we had a couple of weeks where we barely texted. Like now we're more in touch again because I'm living closer to him again. We have dogs together. But it's like so effortless. And it was such a beautiful, natural, organic process that just I just really think like we did it in such a good way because we understood what we both needed and we were willing to accommodate each other in this uncoupling process rather than being like, I hate my ex, fuck my ex. Like I would never say that because I don't feel that way at all. Like I want best for him. I want him to meet his like love of his life, like the woman that can give him all that he wants, like with someone who's fully compatible with him. And he wants the same for me. And that is so genuine. And it's not even like, like just saying, oh, I wish you best, but secretly feeling like, fuck you. Like definitely it's so genuine. It's from this place of pure love and appreciation for each other, which that is actually fucking special to me.
That's
because
beautiful.
I didn't know that was possible. And like having that now, it's like, I'm still like, wow, like this is the most beautiful breakup ever. Like, I don't know. Like I feel so lucky that I had this with him in this way,
Yeah. Oh,
and so, and then, yeah, and like obviously a huge aspect to it has been tuning into what fuels me. Like the reason I'm thriving now is because I've been doing the things that make me thrive. I've been obviously doing the emotional release work. I've been locked in my room crying for 2 weeks straight after. Obviously, like I did all the
you need to take that
processing.
time, of course.
You got to take that time to sit with yourself and your emotions and really process them, acknowledge them, appreciate them as well, because obviously they're just showing you, yeah, you're grieving the potential of what could have been, right? Obviously that's present, but I fully released that. Like I wasn't like suppressing it, like trying to avoid it. I was like sitting with that for days on end, crying, and it was perfect, and I needed that, and it was so important. And then I got to a place where I was like, okay, I feel complete now. I feel like I've grieved. There's still waves coming sometimes, and I'm like, cool, I will watch that wave. I'll allow it to take over my body for a couple minutes, and then it's gone. And it's like it still comes here and there, but I'm like, no, but I know why I made that decision, and I feel so good about it too. So that it's like it's not like a struggle anymore. It's just like, okay, I can appreciate my emotions for what they are, and I'm focused on like being the happiest version of myself. So I doubled down on my friendships, like travels, passions, interests, just all the things that light up my soul, and doing the work on myself so that I just feel so happy with myself these days. I've never genuinely liked myself as much as I do. Like I have so much respect for myself. I have so much love and appreciation for myself, and I never had it to that degree, at least in my life. And so doubling down on that has been helping tremendously.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And you can feel it coming off of you. Like you can feel that, like, authenticity and that like embodiment of all of it. And
thanks, babe.
Yeah, it's just really, really inspiring and incredible. Laura, thank you so much for sharing all of that. Your story is absolutely beautiful.
Thanks,
And
babe.
yeah, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the podcast. I have a million questions I want to ask you still, but I know we're a bit for time.
For another day.
Yeah, for another day. Guys, if you're listening, definitely links are in the show notes. Go and follow Laura for all things feminine energy, living a life thriving in your business and your personal life. Okay. Because she's also about having it all, which we are also about on this podcast. So Laura, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next episode, guys.
Thank you so much for having me, babe.
Thank you.